So these decentralized institutes, this is something really good, almost as good as the state controlled, I mean the state by the individual states, some administrative measures, and you can just like vote with your feet. You dislike the administration and the politics and the policy of some regional government, of some governor of the state of, I don't know, California, so you go to more right-winged Arizona. When you are more left-leaning, you can go from Arizona to California, and nothing with so this very the same thing, that being independent and having many options is both in higher education, it's in the research centers, and it's also in administration. So that's why, for instance, in Colorado you can smoke marijuana and so on, whereas in some other adjacent states you are not permitted to that. But you just have to, you can choose, you can go whenever you want, and this is a huge advantage over Europe, I would say. Country music, yes, and for instance some of the producers, some of the singers like Alan Jackson are making more discs and making more compact discs and making more money than, for instance, Katy Perry, but we wouldn't know because country music is not really skipping ahead to more countries than just these Anglo-Saxon countries. Only in Anglo-Saxon countries there's some exports, real exports of American country music, whereas in other Western nations it's not so visible. But it is, and as huge as the other musical businesses. American Dream, yes, and for instance, when we see the real problem, the real political division of the American elites, you can see that some of the millionaires and billionaires like Mr. Bloomberg, like Mr. Soros, they would prefer that the state would help the big business always. And some businessmen, like for instance Mr. Donald Trump, the President of the United States, they are of an opinion that the government should stay away and let the business be operate in the frames of the free market economy. And as we are now talking about internal market, because externally Trump is of an opinion that they shouldn't be, for instance, some very dogmatic about free trade, especially when at some other nations like Chinese, they disrespect the rules of the free trade, so why not disrespect them a little bit too towards China? So this is the one thing, but internally because when we see how chaotic is this indecision about these two models of economy, we could observe this during the beginnings of the financial crisis, in the banking crisis in the United States, when Obama did not rescue the Lehman Brothers bank, but then rescued all the others endangered banks. So the Americans don't really know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, and how much the government should be able to help the bankers, for instance, and how deep it should go. So just the adherents of Trump would say not so far, the adherents of Clinton or Soros and so on would say far. So this is the real division when we are thinking about what's making the American contemporary politics. There's also always one clear division. For instance, in Germany, the one clear division is now the immigration policy. You have the real opposition, the AfD, and the establishment parties. And this is the real division. And that's why, for instance, the Social Democrats are going down in the polls, because they are not representing any real side of the division. Because the CDU is telling exactly the same. They are for immigration. So, for instance, in Poland, the real division is, of course, lustration, and seeing which persons were working for the Soviets and communism as informants and so on. This is the real division. The real division in the Ukraine is between the pro-Western politicians and pro-Soviet / pro-Russian ones. So the real division can look very differently in different countries. So in America, it's free market capitalists against state-backed capitalists.